What would you do if the person you trusted most, the one you loved, the one you believed would protect you, suddenly became the very person who ended your life in the most brutal way possible? Imagine sharing your home, your secrets, your laughter with someone, only to discover too late that their love was poisoned with jealousy, control, and rage. This isn't just a chilling what if, it's exactly what happened to 26-year-old Anastasia Grishman, a rising social media star from St. Petersburg, Russia. She was building a name for herself online, gathering thousands of followers, and shaping a future full of promise. But behind the glowing screens and carefully curated posts, she was trapped in a relationship that would spiral into horror, one that ended with more than 20 stab wounds, her body left in a bathtub, and a husband who tried to pretend she was still alive. This is the story of Anastasia Grishman, her life, her career, her troubled relationship, and the shocking murder that forced the world to ask a haunting question: how could the person closest to her be the one who destroyed her?
We're building a community of people who dig deep into true crime cases. If that's you, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. It helps more people find these stories, and it keeps us growing together. Anastasia's life and online career. Anastasia was like many young people of her generation. She grew up in Russia during a time when the internet was rapidly becoming the center of social and cultural life. By her early 20s, she had already distinguished herself with a striking sense of style. She decorated her body with tattoos, wore bold outfits, and expressed herself in ways that stood out in the often conservative atmosphere of her surroundings. On TikTok, she posted short, vibrant clips that gained her thousands of followers. On Instagram, she curated a life of artistry, style, and beauty. And on OnlyFans, she found a space where she could be more independent financially, building direct connections with subscribers who admired her confidence. For many fans, Anastasia was more than just another influencer. She was an icon of self-expression, someone unafraid to live authentically. But the very independence and attention that gave her career momentum would also ignite jealousy at home.
Behind the screen, Anastasia's personal life revolved around her relationship with a man named Dmitry. On paper, Dmitry was her partner, her husband, and the man she should have been able to rely on. At first, he appeared as a source of stability. But in reality, he was deeply insecure, possessive, and increasingly volatile. Friends later testified that the relationship had visible cracks. There were frequent arguments. Dmitry disapproved of Anastasia's online work, her interactions with fans, and her growing independence. Instead of supporting her, he saw her success as a threat. To him, her career wasn't a celebration of individuality, it was a source of humiliation and jealousy. Over time, his control deepened. He monitored her, criticized her, and fought with her about her choices. To outsiders, their photos together may have suggested love, but behind closed doors, tension was brewing. In the summer of 2022, the tension finally reached a breaking point. One evening, inside their St. Petersburg apartment, a heated argument erupted. The details of that fight remain partially unknown, but investigators would later conclude that jealousy was at its core. Words turned to rage, and rage turned to violence. Armed with a knife, Dmitry attacked Anastasia. Forensic experts later documented the horror: at least 22 stab wounds across her body, 6 to the neck alone, others to her head, torso, and arms. The violence was not quick. It was personal, brutal, and relentless. Anastasia tried to defend herself, but the assault was overwhelming. In the end, she collapsed, her life drained away in the apartment where she had once dreamed of her future. Her body was left in the bathtub, silent testimony to the nightmare she endured in her final moments.
Most killers panic after a crime like this. They run, they hide, or they confess. Dmitry did something different. He attempted to erase the reality of what he had done. He took Anastasia's phone and began pretending to be her. He logged into her social media accounts, answered messages, and posted as if she were still alive. Friends who texted her received replies that felt oddly mechanical. To some, it seemed like she was distracted. To others, something felt wrong. But Dmitry kept the illusion going for over a week. Imagine the cold calculation it takes to not only kill someone you once claimed to love, but then impersonate them, typing replies, sending updates, fooling their friends into believing everything was fine. For that week, Anastasia's digital life continued, even though her real life had already been taken. But lies can only last so long. As days passed without anyone seeing her in person, suspicions grew. Friends grew worried, commitments were missed, and finally, authorities were contacted. When police entered Anastasia's apartment, they were met with a grim sight. Her body, stabbed more than 20 times, lay in the bathtub. The crime scene told a story of violence and rage, but also of concealment. The attempts at deception had failed. Investigators quickly focused on Dmitry. He was the husband, the one in possession of her phone, the one who had maintained her online presence after she was already dead. The evidence was undeniable. He was arrested, interrogated, and formally charged with murder under Article 105 of Russia's Criminal Code.
The trial was both shocking and frustrating. On one hand, the brutality of the murder was laid bare. Forensic experts described the wounds. Prosecutors detailed the cover-up, the impersonation, and the motives of jealousy and control. The image of Anastasia, once vibrant and alive, was now reduced to evidence files, photos, and courtroom testimony. On the other hand, the outcome stunned many. Despite the overwhelming evidence and the gruesome nature of the crime, Dmitry was sentenced to just 8 years in a high-security penal colony. 8 years! For more than 20 stab wounds, for impersonating his dead wife, for destroying the life of a 26-year-old woman. Critics called it a miscarriage of justice. Women's rights groups in Russia and abroad pointed out that domestic violence often receives shockingly lenient punishments in Russian courts. To many, this sentence was not enough. It was not justice. When the story broke, fans around the world were horrified. Tributes poured in on TikTok, Instagram, and OnlyFans. Some posted her photos with messages of grief. Others demanded stronger protections for women facing domestic violence. Many simply asked, how could this happen? Anastasia's death became a symbol of more than just one tragedy. It became a reflection of systemic problems, the dangers women face in controlling relationships, the lack of strong legal consequences, and the hidden reality behind the polished surface of social media lives. So we return to the question we asked at the beginning. What would you do if the person you trusted most turned out to be the one who destroyed you? For Anastasia, the answer came too late. She didn't get the chance to escape, to rebuild, to live the future she was working toward. Her story ended in a bathtub in St. Petersburg, her voice silenced by the very man who was supposed to protect it. But for us, her story remains. It's a reminder that behind every social media post, there may be hidden struggles we cannot see. It's a reminder that jealousy, control, and abuse are red flags that must never be ignored. And it's a reminder that justice, in many places, still falls short of the crimes it seeks to punish. Anastasia Grishman was more than her tragic ending. She was a creator, a dreamer, and a young woman with her whole life ahead of her. Though her story has been twisted by violence, her memory lives on as both a warning and a call for change.